Hi, everybody. This is Sarah, your medium on the go. And as you know, what I've been doing is I pick a card as the theme of the reading. And then today we're going to talk about a funeral of a president, but I'm not going to rehash it because there are so many videos that you can see about that. But to use the death card, well, the death card is not necessarily, but can be about death literally, but it's also about beginnings and endings. And here we have the death card. So to go a little bit deeper, I think that with the death of President Carter, I posed the question in the funeral today and how relatively civilized people were to each other. Is this the death of civility? Looking at what is coming up for us on the 20th. And I haven't been reading about that. I know a lot of my colleagues are, um, will he be inaugurated? Won't he be inaugurated? And so I feel as though there's enough out there that for you to see about that. I have since this election, it's once again come to me about when we give these readings, is it really coming from our intuition, or does on a very deep level what we would like to see happen come into play? So I've had these questions come up for me. So it's hard for me to give a take as to whether the inauguration of 45 into 47 is actually going to take place. Um, and in a way, it probably doesn't even matter in a sense, because I think eventually karma will catch up to him. And I also feel strongly that there's a good chance he may not finish the presidency. So that could be for another reading. But yeah, the Jimmy Carter represents a lot of ways of death, and that's not necessarily it's just the way history has been. He had a good presidency, but he wasn't treated very kindly um, by the historians, because of the whole Iran conflict and the hostages and everything. But I'm glad to see that while he was still alive, that history it started to treat him more kindly and taking a look at the bigger picture. So the death card has come riding through at the end of his presidency, and darn it, Mary Trump. I think it was Mary Trump that stole the line from me, saying that when the Carter administration ended, it ushered in the era of toxic masculinity, and that's pretty much been the theme, with some reprieves here and there. But we seem to come back to that from different elections, whether it's Reagan and that whole cowboy thing, and again with the W. Bush and wars and all that sort of thing. So I think that with the end of his administration, it did begin the eras of off and on of this very toxic masculinity, which for some reason the American people seem to want to go back to. I don't get it, but that's where we are. So, and it's also, the whole thing is that seeing 45 at the funeral today, it reminded me, and probably reminds everyone else as we listen to the eulogies, that he's the opposite of all the good that President Carter was. So you see again, kind of like the death of an era and the ushering in of another. I also feel that one important symbolic thing was why Reagan tore all the solar panels off of the White House, really stating, well, that's where they are at, which is the anti-environment and make the oil barons richer and all that sort of thing. So we've been kind of been going back and forth with all of that. And I like to think that this end of civility is a temporary thing. But I just want to ask the cards briefly, is this what we saw today? Does that mark an ending with the death card as to what we're going to be in, I don't know how many years, 4 years, 2 years, whatever? So I just want to take a look and see if this is temporary and where it's going. So let's see what we have. So I'm using the Gilded Royale deck. And so let's see where we are right now. After the service was over, the crowds disbanded, and President Carter headed back to Georgia for his final resting place. So let's see where we are at the end of this. The Page of Pentacles. This is very interesting. Let me put this down here. The Page of Pentacles is all about new beginnings, and actually where we are going to go, maybe with the economy, or and this could also be the nation's health. And I think what he's saying is, here's what it is. Now you have the choice to make of this what you will. So I'm also going to be using my new deck as well to do this reading as a kind of the second deck of the Moon Garden Tarot. So let's see the energy that's crossing this. So this is really the message of, you have a choice as to how healthy you want to be, and the promises, no matter how kind of gloomy everything looks now. So we have here crossing the energy is, the Page of Rods in reverse, which is showing a very immature, toxic energy. And it's about I can't believe these cards. I mean, they're just amazing. So what this is talking about is a very immature, childish person that has a very quick temper, and I do see ketchup bottles dancing through my head and smashing on the wall, and really commanding all of the attention. And that this is really opposing this, I will have to say. So I'm going to see what's beneath this energy, and this is in the past we have had the kind of like the financial material world laid out that looked pretty that looked pretty decent. And now we had it rough for a while, but now that things are turning around, we've chosen to the voters chose to turn their back on this. So, and this is also, it represents the health. So they're turning their back on the health of the nation as well. So we have in the president, the Hanged Man in reverse. So instead of when he is upright, he's all about taking a little pause, a rest, and regrouping, getting into the state of grace. But in the reverse position, it's kind of like this is where we're stuck with this for a while. But this is in the present. So let's see, the future possibility of this would be, the Hierophant in reverse. And that's going to be the testing our, wow, this is amazing. that our institutions are going to be tested. Now, the Supreme Court was tested in a very, very simple decision about the New York case as to whether they're going to get involved with a state case with the pronouncement of a sentence. I think it would have been different if he said he was going to if Mershon said he was going to throw the book at him. But since there doesn't seem to be any jail time, they have the 5-4 decision that's saying it's going to continue and we're not even going to consider it. And one of the judges that went, well, I knew that Amy would go over to this light side, and I figured that Roberts would too, because I thought he's starting to worry about his legacy. So when I saw Glenn Kirshner and Brian Cohen discussing this, I knew they were going to say those two before they said it. So sometimes it's going to pass the test and sometimes it isn't, which is a matter of civility and doing what is right. So this is what's underneath all of this, what the choice of the being on the new threshold of what this is going to be about. So in the past, we have the Knight of Wands, and then we have the Moon card. So again, the Knight of Wands is, I always look at it as it's kind of like it's kind of the unpredictability of what somebody's going to do and a possible volatility. And look at all of this red. I'm going to say that this may be where the Republican Party is now. They don't, it's like you don't know if they're going to go nuts or not because of all of this energy that he's created. So they're kind of like on the verge of making this guy, because upright or reverse, he's just kind of like don't light a match anywhere near this guy. So then we have the Moon with all of the secrets. And there's an old saying in AA, and I guess some of those other 12-step programs, we're as sick as our secrets. And to me, that really applies to, that really does apply to the guy that's going to be occupying the White House. It's also talking about that these are they're probably good. These things in the back may be coming to the present, and there are a couple of indications. First was the Supreme Court with the New York case, and now the good old 11th Circuit down in Florida is saying yes, those the Jack Smith report can be made public. I think at least with the January 6th thing. So I don't know quite about, I don't know if they're going to release all of them, but this is like the secrets that are going to come bubbling up like doo-doo out of the sewer after the big rainstorm. So that's in the past. So in the future, we have got the Three of Wands, which is, it's kind of like looking out to a positive future. And I felt compelled to draw from this other deck, upright. And then we've got the Four of Rods in reverse, which I always look at upright. It's upright. I look at it as the partnership and marriage card that is the meeting, whether it's a romantic marriage or the coming together of groups of people that will be generating prosperity. But in this case, in reverse, I always look at this as divorce. So it's going to be, which has started already, the all the cohorts on the red hat side are going to start eating their own as some of these truths come to light. So I'm going to do the conscious thoughts and the unconscious thoughts. Ooh, got to cover her up. That's a little bit of an X-rated. Okay. So then we have the King of Wands in reverse. Very interesting. I'm going to say the star a lot of times is about the United States, and that somehow we're going to get through this. Consciously we always get through with this, but the unconscious thing is now the regret of having this very unstable, sort of tyrannical person that is going to be, maybe I'll say it like that, maybe will be taking office. So in spite of that, this may come out, stronger. So I want to look at kind of like I want to see an outcome of all of this in the question of, is this end of civility going to be very long? And the Nine of Swords is saying, really, don't worry about it. Instead of losing sleep over it, just do something about it. And maybe it's doing something in our own personal lives to, to keep, if we keep our own house in order, that, that's really the important thing. So I like this, looking at the bottom of the deck. So we have on the bottom of the deck as another outcome is the six of Wands in reverse, which is saying that all the ill will and the uncouthness, and uncivility, I should put this back up, and the uncivility of this, oops, I did get it upside down. It's going to be a loser. In the long run, it's going to be a loser. So this is saying that while we are going to be going through a lot of this now, that in the end, in the end, they're just not going to win with that. It's just not a winning way to be. I do believe that the funeral will be kind of a lasting legacy of how, I mean, you have the old, it seems like ancient history, the Clintons sitting next to the Bushes and being civil with all the vice presidents, all of them up to, from Al Gore up to Pence, being very nice and cordial to each other. And even Obama kind of doing the gracious thing with Trump, although I think there is something underneath that, where he was throwing a bit of shade in a way that maybe he felt that idiot is going to understand, so I'll tell a joke at his expense and the guy won't even get it. I kind of think, that might have been happening, but we may never know for sure. But that was the vibe that I picked up. So I think in the end, we're going to have a vacation from it, but there will be, we will return to that. So the other thing I want to do a little bit of a reading on is, what is the energy of of our country right now? What is the energy? And what is, because it's like, it's very divided. It's incredibly divided. But even though, and it's funny though, it's I did see a photo of all of those people, and with Mr. and Mrs. Orange, kind of, he was behind a pillar and she got cropped out of it completely. And I thought, boy, they somehow got out of the frame. And I thought, that really does say a lot. So I know there have been a lot of people with buyer's remorse and that sort of thing. So I'm going to say, what is the energy now as far as the temperature and the animosity of everybody now in light of this funeral? Because I think the world was actually watching this. So I'm gonna switch over a little bit with this. So where we are now is, oh, very interesting. Trying to hold on to the balance of our better instincts and our and being logical, and it's not easy. In this card, the water is just really swirling around. She's only got her toes in there. I think she's a little bit afraid of putting more of her foot in there for fear of being swept away. So right now, I would say at the end of this, kind of like everybody took a little bit of a deep breath, and we do seem to be at least a little bit on hold. Maybe it's just out of respect for a president that is no longer with us. So, okay, so we have this crossed with the, and I would say this is the opposing card, crossed with the energy of the King of Pentacles in reverse. That has been my card for the orange one because he is the corrupt king and money is everything to him. Um, and he has not used his money wisely. He loves it, but he doesn't understand exactly how it works. So let's see, underneath all of this, we have in the past the Knight of Cups with the whole, I'm going to say he's kind of the romantic knight, maybe not all that realistic. He means very well. So I'm going to say that this could be representing the American people back when he first came on the scene and said, oh, he could be our knight in shining armor. He's different. He's not a politician. Let's give him a try, even though it was not the majority of the popular vote, but the votes that got him in. So we have that in the past, and that's also looking for someone that's going to save us. So there's our knight in shining armor. Let's see if I can get a little bit of, okay, that's a little bit of a better view of that. Okay, so we have the Knight of Cups. Then we have, again, the Knight of Cups in the present for this election, for those that got the stupid idea in his head that he was going to solve everything. So we've got that. Then the underlying thing in the future is the Seven of Wands in reverse. And this guy is upright. He's holding his own against the forces, but I'm going to say this is the weakened. This is the weakened person who is no longer the knight in shining armor. And a lot of the cracks of his personality are showing, even for those that voted for him. So again, he is not in a position of strength. And I think that with the people that are kind of in the cult, this is going to be very upsetting and disconcerting. So they're kind of an unpredictable bunch and hard to tell what's going to happen. So in the past, we have the Fool. And that was taking the leap of faith that this was going to work out. And, and going into the uncharted waters. So they went into it in the past. So it asks, why would people do that again? So we got the Fool. And then we've got the Six of Rods again in reverse. So that is meaning, I think this is the 2020 when he was not victorious, and all the animosity that it stirred up that just hasn't gone away. I mean, and we're talking about the sore winners. They're still stuck in the 2020 election. So you've got that going on. So there's all of that animosity that is waiting to bubble up to the surface again, and that's what makes me nervous about his rally coming up, because I think this tells me this is could be the lighting the match to the fuse kind of a thing. And then we've got the Ten of Rods, which is usually the carrying. Oh, that's in reverse. Yes, that's in reverse. So it's about carrying the burden. Really, it's just something that's waiting to explode. So that it's kind of under wraps right now temporarily, but had he lost, I could understand it, but this makes absolutely no sense. So coming up in the future, we have the Emperor. And this is kind of this is sort of like the benevolent leader. I'm not too sure who this is. A lot of readers have this for him, but I'm not too sure. I'm going to say there could be a strong leader, whether he takes office or not, that there will be a strong kind of masculine energy figure coming up to help out. And I could that be Hakeem Jeffries, or it's just a very strong male leader type of a person that not the knight that's going to save us, but someone that may be bringing some more sanity to this. So now that's very hopeful. So in the future, we have we're pretty much, this is Eight of Wands in reverse. So it's kind of like the energy that we had moving forward is going to be kind of paused and retarded. So, you know, uh, yeah, all of the stuff, the economic stuff, I think that it's going to be very frustrating for people when they haven't been able to get ahead. And rods in reverse are often indicative of volatility and being angry. So I'm going to say I'm feeling as though as time goes on and the disillusionment factor builds up, that people are going to be very unhappy. And then we have the World. This is the last card of the major arcana. And when it's upright, it means the end of the cycle and the beginning of a new one. But with it in reverse, it's saying we haven't taken care of the old business. I really feel as though a big part of Carter's life was, and being from the South, deep South too, it was like, we've got to, and he said it in his speech, we've got to end the hate, we've got to end the racism. And we really can't, I mean, you're never going to completely end it, but if we don't address it or deal with it and use all the buzz terms like DEI and all this other BS that the MAGA set likes to use, then we're just going to be stuck, and it's going to be hard for us to move on. I mean, we may eventually, I think sometimes that the thing with having this in reverse is that there's such an amount of disgust of being stuck at saying, like, what we were doing hasn't been working. So maybe we ought to, instead of blame immigrants and blame, DEI and all of this sort of thing, maybe we need to start to take responsibility for ourselves. So there's going to be this telling me that there could be a lot of volatility and soul searching. This is the energy of where we're at, I think, for kind of the next few months. So in the conscious thoughts, we've got the King of Swords. So the King of Swords, in this case, this is about this. I call this the lawyer and the judge card. So consciously, ironically enough, after the funeral, then we had the Supreme Court decision and the 11th Circuit, which is not in favor of him, but it is in favor of the law. So the energy is that The law will prevail. Consciously, we're being made aware of that. Some people may not like it, but I think most people were very. So let's see, what in the subconscious? Where are we? The devil. The perfect. The devil. We're in this whole, and this is about addiction, codependence, and this is, a lot of time, there were a few things that happened at the funeral, like Mrs. Pence, gotta love her, not shaking hands with the orange one, and you can't blame her, but it's kind of like we're, subconsciously people are still stuck on the devil. And there's nothing like family gatherings, funerals, to have a little bit of that come to the surface. Although they kind of put it, for the most part, it was sort of put on the shelf. But subconsciously, people are still addicted to the devil, or he wouldn't have been where he is today. And I would say, even if you're in the school of thought that, well, he really didn't win, but what can we do about it? It's still, there's a lot of people, whether he won or he didn't. There are too many people that are stuck on him. They for whatever reason, it's like wanting to be with your abuser, or thinking it's going to, so that it's all in this whole denial thing that our culture seems to really like. And that's kind of a deep down inside for why are people still drinking the Kool-Aid. So we've got that going on. So that's pretty much what's happening. And the conclusion of all of this is the Knight of Pentacles in reverse. So we have someone who has failed failed businesses, has not been very much. It's one thing if you're immature about managing your own finances. We've all been there. But when you're doing that for a country, you shouldn't be doing that for the country. So, but I'm also going to say that this is also the disillusionment about the economic lives of the working person not getting any better. So the energy is going to be, I'm seeing the energy is going to be of anger and disillusionment, and that's what we're going to have to deal with for a while. But I'm going to draw another card and ask, is this necessarily forever? So I'm going to go back to this deck and say, the Queen of Pentacles is saying, she's upright, she's the good money manager and the businesswoman, but when she's in reverse, oh, this is interesting. In this case, when she's in reverse, she knows better, but she's making bad decisions anyway. And it's kind of like she's doing that to take a better look at herself. So I'm going to say that with the Queen of Pentacles in reverse, it's time for some self-examination. So I think there's going to be a lot of we could a lot of, well, we have to stop making scapegoats and blaming and blaming people. And that's how dictators and tyrants come to power, is that they feel this big need that we've got to blame somebody, and they just make it very easy, and people get sucked into it. 20th century history tells us that. So let's see, as far as the self-care and taking care of oneself goes, I'm going to go to the Angel Kabbalah cards and see what we need to do individually to do this. So then we have Raziel. Oh, again, creative power. That's the whole thing. It's like, get creative about what you do with your life, and don't expect that anybody is going to be there to save you. So, but it would also say, if you have any talent in writing or any of the arts, now is the time to do that, to channel all of this anger, and which I think people have a right to feel angry, um, but to maybe channel that into something more positive. So that's it for me now. So, everybody, take care of yourselves, and I will see you again soon.